Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome as we call to order tonight's regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks Aquarium Authority. My name is Corey Box. I'll be your chair for this evening. Today is Tuesday, March 21st. The time is 5 o'clock p.m. Mr. Macy, can you please verify our attendance, sir?
Bonds.
Here.
Montgomery. Here. Lynn. Murray.
Here.
OJ.
Here.
Rowe.
Here.
Chair Box.
Here. Thank you, sir. Item number 1 on tonight's official business is consideration and appropriate action relating to a request for approval of our consent agenda. Would anyone like to move to approve it, or?
Motion to approve?
Great, thank you very much. We have a proper motion, a second on item 1. Let's vote, please.
Bonds.
Yes.
Montgomery. Yes. Murray.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Chair Box.
Yes, sir, thank you. Item 2 will pull. Moving on to item 3 is potential executive session for purposes of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Jenks where public disclosure of the matter discussed would interfere with the development of products or services or would violate the confidentiality of the business. Tonight we'll be talking about the Riverfront Tourist Commercial District, the aquarium campus more specifically, and if someone would please make a motion if you'd like to enter executive session, we can get on with it.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you both very much. We have a motion, a second. Let's vote.
Bonds.
Yes.
Montgomery. Yes. Murray.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Chair Box.
Yes, thank you very much. We will be back. The Jenks Aquarium Authority have returned from executive session. No votes were cast, and no harm was done to any cocaine bears. So that being said, we are moving on to our staff report. Mr. Alexopoulos, good evening, sir.
Hey, it works. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So we're just coming off of our spring break for Jenks, Tulsa, and the surrounding area. It was really an amazing spring break during about a 9-day period. So taking into account both weekends before and after. The carousel was a huge hit. We generated over $23,000 during that time. We raised the ticket prices for the carousel by $1 in anticipation for the crowds, and so it was an amazing deal, and it was running nonstop from the moment we opened to almost the moment we closed. So wildly popular, and that whole area that we remodeled, that entrance, the great hall with the cafe, and all the changes we've done, really has just turned the experience around for our guests, and also the length of stay, we believe, is increased. Before, that area was kind of just an empty, strange area that people just walked through just to get from point A to point B, and now it was a huge congregating area. The table and chairs we had out there were utilized. Food sales were off the charts for a cafe. They broke records. They ran out of almost every product they had, so they were kind of in emergency mode trying to get more and more product to the aquarium. The gift shop broke their record, so we really had a heck of a spring break. Really lucky that we had the parking lot expansion in time, because even with the 200 some odd additional parking spots, people were still parking on the grass, which we've never seen before. That was really amazing, and I think part of having that available parking allows people to perception-wise still attend the aquarium and pull in, versus coming and seeing 100 or 200 cars parked in the grass. A lot of people are going to be deterred by that. So yeah, it was wildly successful. So our spring break, we generated somewhere in the order of $670,000 versus last year's $550,000. So it was a considerable increase. We had about 36,000 guests versus last year's 27,000. So again, a big uptick. We're ahead year-to-date revenue-wise from 2022, which was our greatest year. We're ahead somewhere around 20%. And the carousel, looping back around to it, we're around $100,000 now since the end of October. So, and most of that was, dead months except for this spring break week. So we're doing really well there. It's going to be really hard to beat our numbers next year, so we got our work cut out for us. Splash was super successful with over $100,000 brought in. Aquarium Run is April 1st. We have so far over 800 attendees. That's pretty strong. We've had more in the past, but we also have had a lot less in the past. Last year's was kind of abysmal. So 800 attendees thus far is pretty strong. April 8th is our Easter egg hunt, and it starts at 1 o'clock with youths, so the little kids, and 2 o'clock with the older kids. So if you have any grandkids or kids, you may want to bring them. It's kind of just general admission, and of course free for our members. We've had 99 guests for our first Z's and the C's of the year, which was really good. Our Jellyfish Touch exhibit is open and was open for Splash as well as spring break. If you attended Splash, I hope you enjoyed it. It's been really, the public is really excited about it, and we have to do timed touches right now. We have quite long lines actually to touch the jellyfish. So it's a really unique exhibit, beautiful, and it's working. As time goes by, we're gonna kind of see if we can't prolong the touching times, but we're just wanting to be extra cautious with those animals because we have little to no experience with the long-term effects of those animals being touched, unlike all our other touch exhibits where we have a lot of experience with that. But there's only a handful of these in the U.S., so we're just ultra cautious with that. But so far, so good. Our pollinator garden, we're winding that down as far as getting our landscape architect started on it. We're just polishing up the contract, and then he will do a within $75,000 design. At that point, we'll take that construction design and solicit 3 quotes and go from there. And then I'll know a lot more about the timeline at that point. The doors leading from the Great Hall to the outside deck, the 3 doors have already been installed, as well as the door opener for the handicap doors. And that was in time for spring break, and that was great because they were being used continuously, people going in and out when the weather was good. And it looks really nice there. The parking lot, they're still waiting on a week or so of, I think it's 10 days of above 55 degree, I believe, weather. So they can do to seal it and do the permanent striping. So that's where they're at with that. We're working on a design for our Extreme Fishes Gallery remodel. So we want to get a design and a budget together. Kind of goes in line with the remodel we did with the Amazing Invertebrates Gallery. It's a similar size gallery, and that went really well, and that is complete. And then we completed the Marvels and Mysteries Gallery now, with the Jellyfish Touch being the final edition, which leaves us the Extreme Fishes. And of course, the Aquatic Oklahoma, which is still we're working out the obstacles, kind of the red tape there, and for the money that's available. So based on how long that's going to take, we may want to, instead of just waiting and waiting and waiting, to go ahead and possibly start another project, start on the remodel of the Extreme Fishes. So we want to kind of be ahead of the game and already have a design and already have a budget. And, the money may open up for Aquatic Oklahoma sooner, and if that's the case, that's fine, because our design's already done for Extreme Fishes to follow that. And I am working on a design for the south bathrooms, the remodel. Those are the ones that are in worst condition. So I've been working with Robert to carve out some money for that. And I'm doing some design work on that. I have a pretty good idea so far of what I'd like it to look like. And I think it's going to be really neat once we do it. It'll look 100% better than it looks now, that's for sure. Let's see. We've accumulated now almost 11,000 emails and about 10,000 text numbers since January of 2022. That all has been Lolly Moore's doing. It's been great. Field trip season began, 700 students. On the 8th, we had 700 students attend. It was quite a madhouse. And what we've been doing with these field trips, we've been adding on our website kind of what times are the most crowded with field trips for our guests, because that's kind of one of the complaints. Our guests come, and then there's all the field trips there. So we've been kind of gauging how many kids are showing up and showing that on our website so that people know ahead of time. And that's been really successful, and people have thanked us a lot on that. And it's kind of spread people out throughout the day a little bit better instead of just a mad rush all at once. Education had 500 students from 10 schools. And the Inspire Outreach event, which was at the Expo Center. It's a Junior Achievements program there. Our education staff came and talked about field trips, programs, memberships, and volunteers, and there was a lot of good reception there. And that is pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions?
Got a couple of questions.
All right.
For you. First of all, where's Greg on the work for the existing building, the existing large animal
Shark
quarantine
quarantine?
building?
So we're having some issues with that building as far as doors closing properly and some other things. So, and then you were there and tagged along when we had that. So Greg came to do some inspecting, and he's working up, he's getting some quotes to shore up a lot of the beams and things like that to buy us some time. We're also going to be removing some heavy objects that's adding extra strain to the roof. But in the meantime, the building has been designed and it's ready to go for bid. But there was some kind of throwing around some different ideas in location. And Chris, did we ever decide on? Are we? I think we're just going to move forward. So my answer to you is tomorrow.
Okay.
We're gonna move forward and go into bid.
So at our next meeting, I'm hopeful you'll have something for us, I assume, for us to approve related to the work on the existing building.
That I will check with Greg and see if he can get that.
Because that needs to get done.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so, but that I will definitely get with Greg tomorrow and iron out both of those things. You bet. Anything else?
Anything else?
What's that?
Well, because he went into the second one about where are we on the new building, and so he answered that as part of answering the first question. So there are because he knew what my second question was.
Hey, if you want to keep Keith talking.
I know, right?
Anyone else for Mr. Alexopoulos? Very well. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you,
Appreciate
Mayor.
Good work.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening. If that's it, there's nothing else, then we will thank you for being here tonight, and we are adjourned at 5:52 p.m. Thank you very much.
We don't have to vote. We don't have to vote.
No.
We don't have to vote.
They did that with city council.
Welcome. We're going to call to order tonight's regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks City Council. Today is Tuesday, March 21st at 6 p.m. And we are about to verify our attendance. Mr. Macy, good evening, sir.
Short.
Here.
OJ.
Here.
Kaylin. Isbell. Murray. Here. Klein.
Present.
Mayor Box.
Here. Thank you very much. And for tonight's invocation, I haven't met this gentleman yet, but we're going to welcome Pastor Joe Thornton from the Tulsa Hills Church of the Nazarene. Pastor, are you here? That you over there, my friend? Hey, we have met. Okay. Welcome, sir. And by the way, Pastor, we have two of our colleagues that aren't with us tonight. If you could keep them in prayer. One of them has a deceased family member, and the other one's dealing with cancer. So if you could keep our friends in prayer as well, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Well,
And by the way, you have the option. Tell us about your church too, if you don't mind.
okay, well, so I was a little taken off guard whenever you said Joe Thornton. That was my father. So
I got bad intel.
yeah, I'll be Jim. We've been at Tulsa Hills Church for just a real short amount of time, getting to know the people there. Sunday started our 24th year. So I think we're about to get to know each other by now. So, but I want to thank you and the council for your willingness to have pastors come and pray for you. Thanks for the partnership that we get to have with you in this way, and we'll pray for these that are not here. So let's pray.
Thank you, Pastor.
Jesus, thank you that tonight you have a way of showing up not only in churches but in city meetings, and that you want to bring wisdom to both. And so for these on this council that will be deliberating and considering things that will better our city, I thank you for the wisdom that you're going to give them, for the unity that you'll continue to provide as they work through the issues at hand. We just believe that you want to use these members of this council to continue the good work here in Jenks. And we lift up specifically these that are facing personal illness and family situations, whether they are present or not present. I know, Lord, that you really do care about each of our situations and the things that go on beyond this room. So would you be the Prince of Peace and the counselor that you always have been and that you'll be again in individual ways. We thank you for this and so much more, and we pray this in your good name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Jim. Appreciate you. All right, tonight's Animal Welfare Spotlight. We welcome back Mr. Fred Reed. What you got for us tonight, sir? Another cutie?
Another cutie tonight. We have nothing but cuties.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tonight we have Ivan. And Ivan is a little boy. He is about 11 or 12 weeks old. He's got his first round of shots, and we'll go back in a few weeks if we still have him for more. He loves to play with the other puppies that we have that are roughly his age. He's a typical puppy that, with all of, what do you see?
He wants to go home with
You wanna
Mr.
go
Mace.
home with Brandon? You wanna go home with, yeah. But he is looking for a home, and so if anybody watching is interested in meeting Ivan or any of his adoptable friends, they can call us at the police department at 918-299-6311 or email us at animalcontrol@jenksok.org.
How big do you think he's going to get?
He's a shepherd mix, so roughly shepherd size. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Good luck to you, Ivan. Have we had a dog pee on the floor yet, ever? No. No? Oh, good. Good job, Mr. Reed. Not one dog has peed on our floor yet. I think that's a match made in heaven, ma'am. That's usually how we do things here. All right, thank you, Mr. Reed, and somebody find Ivan a home if you're watching tonight. We're moving on to citizen or public comments. If you're here tonight and you'd like to address the council as a whole on anything, any topic that is not on tonight's agenda, you are welcome to do so. I don't see too many strange faces, so I'll say probably not. So we will close the floor. We'll move on to tonight's general business, and item number 1, of course, is our consent agenda. If anyone on the council would like to talk about an item, you may, or otherwise we can entertain a motion to approve it as a whole.
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a proper motion and a second on item 1. Let's vote, please.
Short,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you very much. We will pull item 2. Moving on to item 3. I need my glasses now. Item 3 is the possible appointment of Gina Wilson to the Jenks Planning Commission for a term ending on May 1st of 2025. We're going to welcome Ms. Hilton to the podium, and we are on page 71 if you'd like to get to know Mrs. Wilson and read her resume, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council and staff. Ms. Gina Wilson has served on the Board of Adjustment. I've known her for 3 years, and she served for several years prior to me coming to the city of Jenks. She's outstanding in her professionalism, in her ability to really look at the situations and the cases as they come to the Board of Adjustment. She did, I recently sent out a link to a volunteer application, and she did reply to that and said that she was interested in serving on other boards. We have a position for the board, for the Planning Commission. I did mention that to the mayor. At this time, the mayor is nominating Ms. Gina Wilson to the position that was vacated by Mr. Leon Davis, and I am excited to have her on board, and I recommend that you all do appoint her. She is present if you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Hilton. I keep seeing Gina's name. Gina, Mrs. Wilson, would you like to come and, at the risk of us having fun and maybe an embarrassing moment or two? Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm great, thank you. You
What
guys
can you-
look like you're great too.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. Not everybody. Somebody's teams have lost already. Yeah, it's that time of year, madness.
Yes.
I can see one of your colleagues from the Board of Adjustment has joined you tonight because
Mr. Patel?
he's probably extremely envious of the fact that you had the
You're
potential
not,
to
are
move
you,
on.
Rick? Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be very bored if you're not there anymore. How the heck are we going to fill that vacancy? Good grief.
I'm
Get
sure
that
there's
website.
someone just dying to get on that adjustment.
Anything you want to say to this group, or
Well,
the floor is yours.
I am a Jenks lifer. I was raised here. I won't tell you my age, but saying that I'm a lifer, I didn't go to kindergarten because Jenks didn't have a public kindergarten at the time. So if you wanted to go to kindergarten, you had to go to the Methodist Church. Isn't that right, Kenny? Yes, sir. Went to school with Kenny. My boys graduated from here in 2006, 2009. I have my husband with me, happily married, 40 years. And I have been a professional in the financial institutions, credit union for a very, very long time. I was happy when we moved back to Jenks years ago after I got married, and Greg Bowman at the time was on the city council and said, you need to go do Jenks leadership. So I rode around in a bus on the last day, touring the city of Jenks, but I graduated from there, I think leadership was 2006. And then Greg helped me get appointed to the adjustment board. And so here I stand before you asking for your support to get on the planning commission.
Yeah, so the beauty of having a volunteer like Gina's that's lived here so long, it doesn't necessarily mean she's going to love staring at all the engineering documents, but she knows where the bridge used to be, where the road used to go, and that's a really invaluable experience to have on the planning commission. So I would hope if Unless the council members have any questions for Mrs. Wilson. If you do not, then we can entertain a motion. And for tonight's vote, if you agree that we would like to move Mrs. Wilson to the Planning Commission, you would simply acknowledge your vote with the word of yes or no.
I concur with the appointment of Ms. Wilson to the Planning Commission. So that is my motion.
I'll second.
Very well, thank you. We have a proper motion and a second on the nomination of Ms. Gina Wilson. Let's vote, please.
Short,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, and Mrs. Wilson, there's this extensive hazing process that we just implemented 2 weeks ago in anticipation of your
Well, and
arrival.
I understand I'm going to be set beside Mr. Bowman, so I think that's hazing enough.
Well, and,
Okay.
and should
You
you,
should
you
fit
should
right
also,
in.
you should know that Mr. Bowman has called me about a month or so ago and told me for 20 minutes or 30 minutes that without a doubt you would be the best fit to be sitting next to him on the Planning Commission.
That's, Mr. Bowman's a great guy.
Yeah, and we've got a stack of documents, size 6 font, that you need to start reading to get up to date on everything that we got going on in the city. So I hope your husband gives you some free time. I think the Planning Commission meets a little more often than the Board of Adjustment.
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
understand. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. Thank
No,
you for
thank
your
you.
willingness to serve. Congratulations, and
Thank you.
we look forward to seeing you at the first opportunity.
All right,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, let's do some pictures. Let's all go, because there's not a whole lot of us here. Right? There was 2 more of us, we would see.
I don't know when we're going. Oh, I'm going to say. He's like, no.
We'll definitely take extra prayers.
Wow.
What are y'all doing back there?
You're breaking it?
No. That's weird. You can't be behind the podium. Come up here. Maybe you can't be. I don't. Councilor Murray.
I can see right here.
That's good. That's okay. Maybe.
It's not okay.
It's fine. I will make it work. Just stay where you are.
Just Photoshop it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Or we do 1. Okay. 1, 2.
Just husband and wife?
Yeah. Yes. Exciting.
We'll put it in the garage. Thank
And
you.
I'll post
No one wants my mug. You say that until you get the card.
Okay, moving on to item number 4. These are a little lengthy, but I will read them. Consideration and appropriate action relating to ordinance number 1610, an ordinance of the City of Jenks, Oklahoma, approving and adopting an amendment to tax increment district number 1 in the City of Jenks to remove certain undeveloped property in the Oklahoma Aquarium campus from the boundaries of the increment district, ratifying and confirming the actions, recommendations, and findings of the Review Committee and the Planning Commission, providing for severability, declaring an emergency, and containing other provisions related thereto. We are on page 75 in the packet, if anybody wants to follow along. And Mr. Shroud, if you could please, sir, just kind of give the general audience an idea of where we're at in this process and what we're doing here tonight.
Mayor and all members of council, the item that you just read is amending tax increment district number 1. It would be removing those areas on the aquarium campus that are not developed, so keeping the waterfront grill and the hotel, keeping those in, not the hotel, but waterfront grill in tax increment District 1, but removing that, and then in item number 6 would be terminating tax increment District number 2, which is south of the Turnpike, east of the river, and north of Polecat Creek, going all the way to Elm. And then item number 8 is going to be creating 3 new increment districts, one on the aquarium campus, one where TIF 2 had been, and then one south of Polecat Creek, basically to something like 108th or 9th, but what would be 50 acres immediately south of the Polecat Creek, and then the 40 acres that was previously owned by the JPWA. And we held 2 TIF committee meetings. They made the recommendation of using 2 pennies of sales tax and 75% of the ad valorem increments to go towards the TIF. They recommended 25 years. That went to the Planning Commission, where they held a public hearing. The Planning Commission recommended these same terms to the City Council. The City Council held public hearings 2 weeks ago, and now before you are the ordinances to adopt these items. And since we don't have a supermajority, we will not be voting on the emergency clauses.
Thank you, Mr. Strout. So, council members, this is probably the third pass for most of us sitting here in this, but we have a pretty short agenda, so if anyone wants to throw out a last-minute question to Mr. Strout or our attorney, we're open for it. So just light your mic and we'll get going. All right, no questions on item 4. We can entertain a motion then, please.
Motion to approve.
Second. Thank you very much. We have a proper motion and a second on item 4, ordinance number 1610. Let's vote, please.
Short,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you. Item 5, we will skip, or pull, rather. Moving on to item 6, consideration and appropriate action relating to ordinance number 1611, an ordinance of the City of Jenks repealing ordinance number 1212, as amended by ordinance number 1293, and terminating tax increment district number 2, ratifying and confirming the actions, recommendations, and findings of the review committee and the planning commission, providing for disposition of funds held in the apportionment fund, providing for severability, declaring an emergency, and containing other provisions related thereto. I hate those last 5 words. Can we figure out a better way to close those? We're going to vote on that. You're going to find a better way. I'm tired of saying the word there too. We are on page 84. This is similar to what we've just talked about, exception of being the other tax TIF number 2. But like we can entertain any questions if there are any.
Now, this would be just terminating
TIF 2.
so we can
Yeah.
create a new one.
So, yeah. Any questions last minute? All right, very well.
Motion to
and-
approve.
Very well. Second. Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second on ordinance number 1611. Vote, please.
Short,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 7, emergency clause will pull. Moving on to item 8. Consideration and appropriate action relating to ordinance number 1612, an ordinance of the City of Jenks approving utilization of apportioned tax revenues authorized by statewide vote, adopting Article 10, Section 6C of the Oklahoma Constitution and implemented by the Local Development Acts, approving and adopting the Jenks River District Economic Development Project Plan and expressing intent to carry out the project plan, ratifying and confirming the actions, recommendations, and findings of the Review Committee and the Planning Commission, designating and adopting 3 distinct increment district boundaries and the project area boundaries, deferring the naming and establishing the date for the creation of increment districts, adopting certain findings, reserving to the city the authority to make minor amendments to the project plan, authorizing the city council of the city to carry out and administer the project plan, establishing a tax apportionment fund, authorizing directions for prospective apportionment of tax increments, establishing an allocation of use for tax increments, declaring apportionment funds to be funds of the city, and limiting the pledge of apportioned increments to increments actually apportioned by the city, authorizing the city council or a public trust designated thereby to implement the project plan utilizing apportioned tax increments to pay or reimburse project costs directly, and or to issue bonds or notes, if feasible and desirable, to pay project costs and to retire said bonds or notes from apportioned tax increments, providing for severability, declaring an emergency, and containing other provisions related thereto.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a proper motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1612. Let's vote, please.
Short,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Klein. Yes. Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you. Item 9, we'll pull. Moving on to other business. Tonight's city manager's report. Mr. Schraub.
Mayor and all members of council, our sales and use tax check for March saw a 7%, our sales tax check for March saw a 7% increase from the same month last year. I was rather shocked to see the use tax was a 56%. I had decrease from the same month last year. Our finance director looked into that, and the decrease is due to a series of refunds for items that were mischaracterized by a retailer as subject to sales tax that were not subject to tax. The refunds are for items sold between 2018 and 2020, and the refund amount totaled almost $100,000. So if the refund was not removed from our use tax check, we would have seen a slight increase in use tax collection year over year for the month. I think Robert has said that he thinks that $100,000 is the end of it. It just took a long time once they realized that there was a 3-year miscategorization of something that was not taxable, that was being taxed, to then finally get it taken out of our use tax. It'd kind of be nice if they told us, communicated this ahead of time.
Is that unusual? This is
It's
unusual.
happened before with like Kimberly Clark when they do, like say they're upgrading some plant, something in the plant, and something gets miscategorized, then we get the money, and then years later come back, and all of a sudden we don't get notification. We just have a significantly lower tax check. And then we get to investigate, and then they get to tell us, oh yeah, by the way. So combined sales and use tax, we had a 6% decrease from the same month last year, which if you count the $100,000 that was taken to pay back stuff from 18 through 20, we actually had a slight increase, and we would be the only city, I believe, in Tulsa County that had an increase for their March check. Every other city in the metro had a decrease in sales and use tax year over year. Riverside Airport expansion, staff met with airport management to review the new Riverside Airport expansion plans. They plan to expand the runway 600 feet to the south, keep 91st Street in its current location. They also plan to expand the runway around 600 feet north and move the 81st Street curve further north. They'll present this plan at a March 30 public meeting at Tulsa Tech at 6 p.m. And I think that, you know, depending on if this is the plan that gets adopted by the airport, we're going to have a lot more conversations with the airport, because if it's extended 600 feet to the north, that would be extending into the city of Jenks, and I believe that then we would have to have some sort of planning action, because our comprehensive plan does not contemplate an airport use within the city of Jenks. TIF 4, staff met with Superintendent Butterfield, members of our executive staff, and 2 members of the JPS School Board to discuss the existing TIF 4, which is around west of Highway 75 between 111th and 121st. We discussed options for extending and amending the boundaries to accommodate substantial retail growth, and we anticipate scheduling TIF committee meetings for that area within the next few weeks. The fire union contract, we held our first meeting with the union to discuss next fiscal year's contract. We plan to meet with them on a regular basis so that we can have a contract to present to council before the end of the fiscal year. On Sunday, March 26th, the pavement striping contractor will start setting traffic control for the Main Street restriping at approximately 8:30 a.m. and will remove the traffic control by 6:30 p.m. So that's this coming Sunday. Main Street date to the railroad. PSO should be wrapping up utility relocations for the project within the week. I don't know if you've seen them out there, but they've been out there working. And then we're meeting with Simon's VP of Development to discuss get a general update on the outlet mall. Obviously, they're under construction, but we don't have any firm timeline.
Can you invite us to that?
Yeah, I just,
Can you invite us to that meeting? Her and I?
yeah.
Thank you.
Upcoming events, some of this I will allow the stand-in for the chamber president to mention, but we will not have a city council meeting next April 4th, no, next Tuesday, not next Tuesday. We will not have a meeting on April 4th. And then just the Riverside Airport Master Plan Public Meeting number 3, again, is next Thursday, March 30th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at Tulsa Tech. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Can you have an update on the dilapidated structure behind Pink Lily and where that's at? Is it still look like that, or is it gone? Anybody know? Chief,
Chief?
if you can. Thank you, sir. How are you tonight?
Members of council, so to answer the question about the Pink Lily, I was actually down there today and was working on some other issues and did not look. So the answer is I don't know, and Malia was out today, so I will get an update tomorrow and send it out. But I know that the owner was served notice this week. They were trying to put that off on their renter. But the owner was served notice this week, and if we don't hear back, then we'll be putting that on the review boards for.
And the renter, we'll keep her name out of it. She's been cooperative. She wants this gone, right?
She's very cooperative, yes.
Okay. So, all right.
So we are working on that, and you know, as you guys see in the weekly update, there are lots and lots of code enforcement issues that we're trying to tackle. I came to you tonight to talk to you about the homeless issue that we've been dealing with this last week. I'm going to be very brief on it. We are setting up a task force, for lack of a better word, to deal with things, and I'm going to run down through some of the things that we need to deal with. And the first thing I want to say is homelessness is not a crime. So on the other side of that, the people that pay taxes in this city have the right to, you know, enjoy their city. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with public education, and then as a city, all the departments are going to need to work on this problem. Public safety through environmental design, so you know, not make things as easy to, you know, sleep on, those sorts of things, and then you know, work on keeping things picked up and trash picked up, and so nature's. If you've noticed, then the encampment that was under the bridge is gone. Turnpike Authority gladly came out and picked up that mess, which resulted in 26 bags of trash being picked up from there. So that is the short and sweet update. We are working on this, and like I said, for lack of a better word, we're going to set up a task force and start moving forward with some of these things, and still be in consideration of their rights as well.
Did you want to be part of that?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, if you want anyone from council, I think Councilor Short and I think former police officer Mr. Murray, would you be willing to help out? If you need some folks, these two gentlemen here would be happy to be part of it.
Okay. Sounds like you guys have been voluntold.
He volunteered.
Volunteer.
Other than that, I will stand for any questions that you guys might have of.
I'll just say we appreciate your efforts. I know that it's a very difficult challenge to overcome, and I think it's going to take a lot of constructive effort from a lot of different angles to to accomplish what we all, I think, want to see happen. So we appreciate your efforts and all your staff and your police force. I know it's tough.
Well, the guys have been doing a really good job this week. We've met with the city attorney. She's been very helpful. We've also had meetings with some of the other stakeholders. We spent a lot of the week trying to identify the property owners in the areas affected. So that's a big part of it. The Turnpike Authority, we've had meetings with them, and then we've got some other meetings set up. So hopefully, in the next day or two, we can get together and start pushing forward on this. Did you have anything? Okay. Chief Brown and Sergeant McNulty are really, really working overtime trying to come up with solutions that are fair. Okay? So.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thanks.
I would encourage the council to be slightly cautious in how you correspond relating to that issue. I posted something today, and I think somebody asked me to edit it like 28 times in 2 minutes. So it's a very sensitive topic, and there's a lot of legality involved, frankly. As the chief said, there's nothing illegal about not having a home. And so we have to figure out a Christ-like way to handle those folks and also look out for our citizens as well. So appreciate your willingness to get involved and help the task force and do that. We don't have an INCOG report. Mr. Isabel is not with us. We can skip committee reports. I did have a legislative update to give you, and I didn't bring it. It's not timely, so we can discuss it in a month or so. Any closing comments, remarks, anyone? Mr. Murray?
If I could go back to the committee reports, just a little bit about the
Yes.
Public Safety Committee. Currently, today, tomorrow, and Thursday, there is a National Safe Kids Coalition is doing Child Passenger Safety Technician course at Fire Station number 2. I hope Ms. Butterfield is aware of that. I didn't know if you knew that or not. And we've got 4 of the firefighters for Jenks that are in that class right now. We would have had a 5th one, but he's on injury leave. But because of our efforts through Safe Kids and through our fire department and some police officers, it's the idea is to make sure children are protected when they're transported. And it turns out that right here in our own back door, our city manager had gone on vacation last week. They were on their way home from Dallas after driving all over. We're in a suburb city around us and got rear-ended. And the vehicle that hit him was totaled, but yet his son Dean was safe because of the efforts that our firefighters and Safe Kids Coalition put in to that seat. So,
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, as a new parent, 3 years ago, I didn't know how car seats worked, and so we went to the Jenks Fire Department, and they put in the car seats in Danielle's car and my car, and I can say that I was pretty pleased that, knowing that they were put in by professionals after the accident. So, and everyone's okay, but I made sure to call Counselor Murray pretty soon after the accident and say, I really appreciate this effort because it really does mean a lot. And you'd be surprised, but my wife started by going to the Tulsa Fire Department, and they had no idea how to put the car seats in. So I think it's pretty, there's something to say for what we do for our own citizens, but also just the community at large. So.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Anyone else? All right, very well. Then at this point, we will wrap the evening up. We'd like to invite Mr. Ken Hargrove to come forward, and he's got a chamber report for us. Is that on the next one? Okay, I apologize to you. Why don't you, well, yeah, you can sit right there in the front row. Matter of fact, stick around long enough, we'll have a dog for you. But I guess you're on the next agenda. Every time I take my glasses off, I get disorientated. All right, so that is it. Nothing further. We will go ahead and say we are adjourned at 6:36 p.m. All right. Keep this one, keep this one. Is that mine? Nope. I don't know where mine went.
It is now.
Okay, here we go, here it is. All right, thank you. We will call to order tonight's last meeting, which is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks Public Works Authority. Mr. Macy, roll call, please.
Short.
Here.
OJ.
Here.
Caitlin. Isabel. Murray.
Here.
Klein.
Present.
Chairbox.
Here, thank you very much. Item number 1, would anyone like to make a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have a proper motion to second. Item 1, let's vote, please.
Short.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, thank you much. Pull item 2. Anything else in your report, Mr. Shrout?
No, sir.
Very well. Mr. Ken Hargrove, sorry for the delay. Welcome back, my friend.
That's good, you got me closer.
Want
I don't have the energy level that Heather Turner has, so you have to understand. I worked on that all afternoon, took a nap,
But we can see you, though.
tried to get that going, but you just get me. So I am the stand-in. That's a great one. Heather is away tonight. She's at a leadership conference, and we're trying to figure out how to clone her. We'll be hitting the city up for another income raise so we can figure out how to pay her clone. So just be aware of that. Anyway, let me give you the report. Thank you for allowing me to represent the chamber. Upcoming events we have this week. We've got a busy week at the chamber. One that's personal to me, Peyton's Corner is having the ribbon cutting at 11:30 on Thursday. I do know there's going to be a barbecue buffet out there for guests and things like that. You may have to pay for it, but the Bayou Boys are out there cooking, and we'll have something going for that. That's Thursday. The legislative lunch is occurring Friday here at the Hive, or at our Hive. And then there's another ribbon cutting. It's actually a groundbreaking that the Frontier group was scheduled to have, and they have decided that since it's going to be rainy, muddy, that they'll have it at the Hive. So that has changed to the Hive at 2 o'clock.
And it's a groundbreaking ceremony?
It's a groundbreaking ceremony. They're just going to bring it into the Hive since it's going to be mucky somewhere. I don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah. 2 o'clock on Thursday for Frontier. Okay. Okay? So we've also had, we've got the big conference for women in business is coming April the 4th, which has been a win for us using Tulsa Tech's facilities. We'll have Jay Spencer as a speaker, Leanne Taylor, international professor Dr. Brenda Joy of OU, author Jenna Worthen, and an inventor and entrepreneur, Dee Hayes, will be present for that. And that's a big conference. It's going to be well attended by lots of folks. Moving on to progress that we've got going on and promised, we have the new ceiling has been repaired in the Hive. It looks very nice. We appreciate the city's involvement in that and helping us with that, because it certainly took away from the flaking paint dropping down into our meals during meetings. We're collaborating and have the Muskogee Nation involved to do a mural plan, and it incorporates Jenks and the Muskogee Nation. It's going to be highlighted and displayed in the Hive on the west wall. You know, we've got an emblem that says Hive, but it's going to be something that kind of joins us together, and you'll kind of see that that's part of our collaboration with them. So, economic development, business case for bringing their business to Jenks. We've given out 15 interested brands. Information I have an example of it. Heather sent it. It just says a business case for bringing your business to Jenks. It's got demographics. It's got all this information. It talks about current projects, which, by the way, the new visibility on the website that shows the projects are in process. I've had a lot of folks calling me going, man, that is neat to be able to see those visually and have that. So I just wanted to throw that out. Anyway, she met with the Woodland Hills Mall Business Development Team, and they came back for more packets just like this because they were so simple for them to read and to look at. She was very, in a very positive way about that, talking about how that went over with other groups that come. And so we're hopeful that some of those folks will look at Jenks in that way and use that information. She met with Kathy Taylor of the University of Tulsa. We're trying to create strong partnerships with our higher ed group for the workforce involvement. That is one of our challenges, is to make sure that we can do that. So we're trying to incorporate, OSU Tulsa to you, obviously, and so she's in the process of really trying to reach those areas and those organizations to get their involvement. She met with Roy's Chicken about incentive opportunities, just because it was one of her things to do, meet with them. Tulsa's future economic development collaboration meeting with the regional chambers was attended. She learned their processes and found that there's a lot of success in recruiting developers and businesses and small investment groups. Participated in the mentioned TIF meetings just to be involved, to be aware, and was involved in those. Her and Ms. Hilton met with a bank, not to be named, that is interested in Jenks. So that's positive, another business looking this way. Updated economic development, Discover Jenks website, as I mentioned. We've got a Discover Jenks website that she's invested in and she's asked a group to be involved, and it's a McGraw group. And now they're listing land, businesses for lease, for sale, and they're visually keeping that updated for us. It was something we had a hard time keeping up with, didn't have the staffing, and all they wanted was just to be able to put a McGraw name at the bottom of that site. So they're keeping it updated, and it's very, very nice website to go to.
And the good thing is it's just not McGraw Properties. It's
Right.
every available property
Good point.
for all brokers. And tell her I thank her for doing that. I've been asking for 2 years.
Yeah, because
And
people
this
are all
is-
the time coming
it's
and
a-
saying what's available in
Yeah,
Jenks.
it's a
So
really
it
good
gives you some
product.
visibility.
When you guys see it, you'll be happy with it.
As far as community collaboration, I was in this meeting, was approached by the Sutton Avian group, came to town and wanted to see how to involve Jenks in their local, their annual fundraisers that they do down at Cox Center, and maybe have a Jenks street, because they have streets, and maybe see if vendors and businesses in Jenks would like to participate in it. It's a fundraiser for the Sutton Avian group. So it's a well-attended festival every year. It happens in August. So we met with them just to talk about preliminary possibilities. Collaborated with Frontier Justice to plan their groundbreaking, obviously. Held a ribbon cutting for the Lived, significant because it's our first new furniture facility and home store. And it's a retailer here, down by the hatch and and so I haven't mentioned that to anyone at my household because I'm afraid she'll go in there and start shopping. But other than that, met with the aquarium staff, planning obviously our Sharklahoma activities that are coming. Have had that meeting started. As you guys were all aware of, we hosted the city's Jenks Town Hall meeting with the large attendance. It was good, which is where the visibility came out of, as people want to see. Obviously, we saw them that night, Celebrated the fire station's 100-year centennial and the logo. We're involved in that. Hosted our first Small Business Academy lunch, and hosted at Tulsa Tech, which was again, well received by Tulsa Tech. They're excited that we're wanting to use their facility for some events. Obviously, our young folks that I don't know anything about are Emerge, and they keep going strong. There's a group that obviously that are much my junior, and I don't. I'm kind of barred from that group, but that's all right. Discover Jenks is here, and I brought copies. They are really neat. They have a bunch of Hanyaks on the carousel, pictures of some of the board and some of the ambassadors. Really turned out well. It's an advertising, so I brought several of those. It's also being used, and the Muskogee Nation has reached out to us and said, we want that Discover in our packet so that we can share that with folks too, to talk about Jenks and to share that. So that's kind of a crossover, the collaboration that we're excited about. In filming, the area of filming, there was a Hulu, a site selector from the Hulu series Reservation Dogs that was in town. Looked at several sites as possibility for a shoot. So that's, with our film-friendly emphasis now, we're getting some people looking around. I guess that's how I'm going to say it. Met with a movie documentary director and film producer about local movie to connect them to produce a local movie set to premiere in Tulsa in May. So I don't know what that's about, but another film interest of a documentary. Chris, I think this is one that he shared my way. He and Heather and a person named Karen met with Karen, who goes around looking at places to have not huge, but music festivals that are big, like Lollapalooza or Austin City Limits. Like I do know Austin City Limits, but anyway, they were looking at an area, and Chris drove them around for areas to consider here in Jenks for some music festivals. So anyway, government affairs, some of our group participated in the One Voice, the Tulsa Region Chamber, and we've reactivated our Government Affairs Committee through our board members and have assigned some of those folks to be involved in that. And we're getting ready for our Jenks Day at the Capitol coming up in May, so we're preparing for that. And again, we've hosted legislative lunches, which the next one is Friday at noon. So that's what I have.
And I think there's a membership happy hour Thursday.
Very good. It did not make this minutes, but it is, yeah.
Thursday, 4
in the
to
sidecar up
yeah.
above. Yeah, like 4:30 to something like that, 5. Anyway, it's a kind of a happy hour time frame, whatever that would be.
For members only?
Nah,
You have
it's,
to have a jacket?
yeah, you get the green jacket. So it's just to kind of meet and greet and have a time away from folks when they can't.
4 to 5:30 at Sidecar.
Thank you. Thank
On
you
Thursday.
for correcting that time. So, all right. Any questions? I'll entertain. I'm not saying that I'll be able to answer them because I am not Heather, but
Mr. Hargrove, how long have you served the chamber?
let's see. We are 8 years into our business here in town. Excuse me, and I think I've been on there about 6, 7 years and jumped in, and that was my job. I was given a task of, because I was not a funeral director when we started our business. You don't have to be. Mike Marker, my partner, was. And what he told me to do was get in every picture that's taken in town and be in the middle of everything. So that's what I did. Well, and it turned into, will you serve on the board? Will you chair the board? Will you, yeah. So.
How long have you lived in Jenks, sir?
As of July, it'll be 66 years.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you're an incredible volunteer, and I want to make you aware of a new opportunity.
I heard that opening, but yeah.
If you're interested, she could be. Heather's a great boss, and she's just as good. If you want to join, Ricky will tell you all about it.
I'm sure it pays well.
Pays extremely well.
So
Thank you for your service.
I don't know where you want me to bring these. Just pass these out. I'd like one. Might just pass it down. And here's the example of the business case that she's been throwing out there. So,
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Appreciate you.
appreciate the time. Thank you.
Sir. All right, council, any last minute comments, concerns, going once? Going twice? Very well, thank you very much. With that being said, we are adjourned at 6:50 PM. Have a great evening.